Let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this question, not just skim past it the way you skim past your gym membership card. Are you living the life you actually want? Or are you living the life that simply happened to you while you were busy scrolling, worrying, and eating cereal at 2 a.m, wondering where it all went sideways? Because if you clicked on this video, my darling, I already know the answer. And before you feel even slightly embarrassed about that, I want you to know something profound, something that changed everything for me, and for every person I have ever had, the joy of walking beside on this magnificent, ridiculous, breathtaking journey called life. You are not lost, you are not broken, you are not behind. You are simply standing at the doorway of your own transformation, and you haven't yet realized that the door was never locked. You just forgot where you put the key. And today, we are going to find that key together. We are going to dust it off, shine it up, and use it to walk straight through into the life that has been waiting for you, patiently, lovingly, and with tremendous enthusiasm on the other side. Now, I want to start by acknowledging something, because if there is one thing I cannot stand, it is a motivational talk that skips right past the very real, very human experience of feeling stuck, of feeling like everyone else got a manual to life and yours was either lost in the mail or written in a language you never learned. So let us be honest with each other right now, shall we? You have had days, maybe weeks, maybe years, where you woke up and the very first thought in your mind was not excitement, not gratitude, not the radiant joy of a new morning. The very first thought was something closer to, oh, this again, the same alarm, the same soothing, the same quiet, nagging feeling that this cannot possibly be all there is. That somewhere between the dreams you had as a child and the life you are currently living, something got lost, something got dimmed, and you cannot quite put your finger on when it happened or how. But you know, deep in the marrow of your bones, that you were made for something more. And then, because life has a magnificent sense of humor, you spend the next 20 minutes on your phone looking at someone else's highlight reel, their vacation photos, their glowing skin, their seemingly effortless success. And you think, what is wrong with me? And the answer, my love, is absolutely nothing. Nothing at all is wrong with you. What is happening is something far more interesting and far more fixable than a personal flaw. What is happening is that you have been playing the wrong game entirely. You see, most people spend their entire lives reacting to reality. Something happens, they respond. The bank account goes down, the mood goes down, the relationship hits a rough patch, the faith in the future hits a rough patch, the job feels meaningless, the self-worth takes the elevator straight to the basement. They are, in every sense of the word, victims of circumstance. Not because they are weak. They are not weak at all, but because nobody ever sat them down and told them the most important truth about how life actually works. And that truth is this: your outer world is a reflection of your inner world, always, without exception, with the reliability of the sunrise and the stubbornness of a cat who has decided your laptop is a bed. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Oh, here we go. Inner world, outer world, manifestation, blah, blah, blah. And I completely understand that skepticism, because the way this truth has been presented in some corners of the self-help universe has been, shall we say, a touch theatrical. Vision boards and affirmations and crystals. And somehow your dream life is supposed to fall from the sky like confetti. And when it does not, you feel like you failed at wishing, which is a particularly cruel form of disappointment. But here is what I want you to understand. This is not magic. This is not wishful thinking. This is one of the most consistently observed, most deeply understood principles of human experience. And it has been recognized not just by spiritual teachers and philosophers, but by neuroscientists, psychologists, and behavioral researchers who studied it from entirely different angles and arrived at the same extraordinary conclusion. Your brain, that magnificent 3-pound universe sitting in your skull, does not distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically real. Neurologically, the same pathways fire, the same emotional responses activate. When you replay a painful memory, your body responds with stress hormones, as though it is happening right now. And when you vividly imagine a desired future, your brain begins laying down the neural architecture to move toward it. This is not philosophy. This is neuroscience. This is what researchers like Dr. Joe Dispenza have documented in clinical settings, what decades of sports psychology has proven with athletes who visualize peak performance and then physically achieve it. What cognitive behavioral therapy is built upon, the understanding that changing the thought changes the feeling, changes the action, changes the result. Your thoughts are not just thoughts. They are instructions. They are the blueprint from which your reality is being constructed, brick by brick, moment by moment, every single day. And if you have been handing over the architectural plans for your life to fear, to doubt, to the voice that says, "Who do you think you are?" Well, darling, is it any wonder the building looks the way it does? But here is the beautiful part. Here is where I want you to lean in, because this is the part that changes everything. You can change the blueprint. Right now, today, before this video is even over. You can begin, in this very moment, to give your mind new instructions, to hand over a new set of plans, to fire the architect of limitation and hire the architect of possibility. And the way you do that is not by pretending everything is fine when it is not. That is not what I am suggesting at all. Positive thinking without honesty is just spiritual bypassing with better vocabulary. What I am suggesting is something far more powerful. It is the practice of learning to hold two things simultaneously: the honest acknowledgement of where you are right now and the unwavering vision of where you are going. Like a ship's captain who looks at the storm without flinching and still keeps the compass pointed toward the destination. Now, let us talk about that destination for a moment, because this is where so many people get tripped up, and I want to save you years of confusion. Most people, when asked what they want, will tell you what they do not want. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be in a relationship like the last one. I don't want to feel this anxious anymore. And bless their hearts, they are working hard toward a goal. But the goal is painted entirely in negatives. And the mind, that faithful, literal, slightly overzealous servant, cannot move toward a negative. It can only move toward an image. And if the image you are broadcasting is the very thing you fear, then you are, quite accidentally, sending your internal GPS in exactly the wrong direction. So we must get specific. We must get vivid. We must have the audacity. And yes, I use that word intentionally to actually decide what we want, not what we think we can have. Not what seems realistic given our current circumstances. What we actually, genuinely, soul level want. Because here is a secret that took me longer than I would like to admit to truly absorb. The universe, life, God, the great creative intelligence, call it whatever resonates with you, is not limited by your bank account. It is not limited by your past. It is not limited by what your Aunt Margaret thinks is reasonable for someone in your position. The only limits that exist are the ones you have agreed to believe in. And agreements, unlike granite, can be changed. So I want you to do something with me right now. And if you are somewhere that allows you to close your eyes for a moment, please do. If you are driving, absolutely do not do that. Keep your eyes wide open, my darling. We need you here. But for everyone else, I want you to take a breath, a real breath, the kind that actually fills your lungs instead of the shallow little puffs of air we usually take when we are stressed and moving too fast. Breathe in, hold it, and breathe out slowly. Now, without the filter of practicality, without the voice of anyone who ever told you to be realistic, without the shadow of past disappointments, I want you to ask yourself one question. If I knew with absolute certainty that I could not fail, if success was guaranteed, what would my life look like? What would I be doing? Where would I be living? How would I feel when I woke up in the morning? What kind of relationships would surround me? What kind of work would I be doing? And would it even feel like work at all? Let yourself go there, even for 30 seconds. Let the image form, because that image, that vision, is not a fantasy. It is information. It is your soul's communication to you about what you are here to experience and to create. And the fact that you can imagine it means it is possible. because you cannot genuinely, deeply desire something that is beyond your capacity to achieve. Desire is directional. It is pointing you somewhere. The question is whether you are willing to follow. Now, here is where we get into the actual mechanics of transformation. Because I am not here to simply inspire you for 20 minutes and then send you back to your life unchanged. I want something to actually shift today. So let us talk about the 3 pillars of creating your dream life. And I want you to hold on to these because they are simple enough to remember and powerful enough to actually work. The first pillar is vision with emotion. Not just knowing what you want, but feeling it. Because the brain, remember, responds to emotional intensity. A thought that carries feeling is exponentially more powerful than a thought that is merely intellectual. When you think about your dream life, do not just see it. Feel the freedom of it. Feel the joy. Feel the specific texture of what it would be like to wake up in that life, to move through that day, to fall asleep at night with the satisfied fullness of someone who is exactly where they are meant to be. The emotion is the fuel. The vision is the vehicle. You need both to actually move. The second pillar is aligned action. And here is where I will say something that might ruffle a few feathers in the purely metaphysical crowd. You cannot think your way to your dream life from your couch. The universe is extraordinarily generous, but it is not a delivery service that drops packages at your door while you sit in passive reception. It is a collaborative partner. It meets you in the direction you are moving. Every step you take toward your vision, however small, is a signal. It is you saying, I believe in this enough to move. And when you move, doors open. When you move, synchronicities happen that you cannot explain. When you move, you discover pathways you could not have seen from where you were standing. The first step does not require you to see the whole staircase. It only requires you to trust that the staircase exists. The third pillar is faith over fear. And I want to be very clear about what I mean by faith, because this is not a religious prescription. Faith, as I am using it here, is simply the decision to believe in a positive outcome before you have evidence of it. Because here is the thing about evidence. Evidence always comes after the belief. You do not get the evidence and then decide to believe. You decide to believe, and then the evidence appears. Every inventor who ever created something the world had never seen had to believe in it before there was a single shred of proof. Every person who has ever turned their life around in extraordinary ways had to hold on to the vision in the darkness before the dawn arrived. Faith is not naivety. Faith is strategy. It is the most powerful creative force available to human beings, and it costs absolutely